All right, welcome back. Today, we're jumping right into something called integrated marketing communications. It's all about how brands can possibly cut through all that noise out there to deliver a message that doesn't just get heard, but really truly lands with you.
So let's just start with a problem that I know you've experienced, because every single brand on the planet is facing it. Think about your day. You are just bombarded, right? Ads, pop-ups, emails, promotions everywhere. So in this totally saturated world, how on earth does a single message, just one, ever manage to break through?
Yeah, it's just a world of noise. It is pure chaos out there. We're surrounded by this constant hum of marketing. So, what we're going to talk about today is the story of how a brand finds its voice, how it can cut through all that chaos and create, well, a moment of perfect clarity.
I mean, think about it. We are just flooded with information. But our brains have a limit, right? They can only process so much. So let's imagine a new scooter company. We'll call it Drivo. They're trying to launch their cool new product. But their message? It's just one tiny drop in a massive ocean of literally thousands of other signals, all competing for your attention. So, what's the secret? How do you get heard? Well, here's the thing. It's not about shouting louder than everyone else. It's about speaking with one single, clear, powerful voice. It's about harmony. Okay, and that brings us to the IMC Symphony. This is the core idea of what we call integrated marketing communications. You'll hear it called IMC. Think of it as the master plan. It's the strategy that makes sure every single time you come across a brand, whether it's an ad, a post on your social feed, even a display in a store, it's all telling the exact same cohesive story. And I love this metaphor because it's so perfect. A shouting crowd, that's just a bunch of noise, right? It's chaos. But an orchestra? Now that's different. Every single instrument knows its part, and they all come together to create one powerful, unified melody. IMC, well, that's the conductor, making sure every single message harmonizes beautifully. Okay, so how does a brand actually create this harmony? Well, a great symphony doesn't just happen. It needs a masterful score. And for a brand, that score is the IMC plan. This isn't something you just improvise. It is meticulously, carefully crafted. So if we go back to our scooter brand Drivo, they're not just going to start throwing ads out there randomly and hoping for the best. No way. They would follow these 3 crucial steps to build out their strategy. It's all about making sure every single move is deliberate and, actually effective. Okay, first up, situational analysis. You can basically think of this as the intelligence gathering phase. It's all about doing the homework. You've got to research the entire landscape, figure out exactly who your competitors are, and, this is the most important part, get a really deep understanding of what your potential customers, in this case scooter buyers, are actually looking for. All right, so once Drivo has all that intel, it's time to set some goals. And we're not talking about vague stuff like, hey, let's sell more scooters. No, using a framework, a popular one is called DAGMAR, means you get super specific, measurable goals. Something like, our goal is to make 50% of urban millennials aware that the Drivo brand even exists, and we're going to do it in the next 6 months. See? Specific. And finally, the budget. Now here's the crucial point, and a lot of people get this backward. The strategy dictates the spending, not the other way around. So Drivo would figure out, okay, what exact tasks do we need to do to hit our goals? And then they'd build a budget to fund those specific tasks. The plan always comes first, and the budget follows. Okay, so the master plan is written, the budget is locked in. Now it's time for the fun part. It's time for Drivo to choose the instruments for its orchestra, the actual tools they're going to use to get their message out there. And here they are, the primary instruments in what we call the IMC toolkit. Each one of these has a really unique role to play. You've got your classic media advertising, TV, radio, that casts a super wide net. Then there's digital marketing, which is all about precise, laser-focused targeting. Direct marketing speaks one-on-one to individuals. And of course, PR is all about shaping the public's perception of the brand. And this right here? This perfectly sums up the modern marketing dilemma, doesn't it? Do you go for the massive but kind of passive audience you get with a big TV commercial? Or do you go for the smaller but way more engaged and interactive audience you can find on social media? The secret is, a really great IMC plan doesn't choose. It's not an either-or situation. It figures out how to beautifully blend them together. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's look at this from the customer's perspective. How do all these different instruments, this whole orchestra,
work together to guide someone from, just hearing the first note of Drivo's symphony all the way to giving a standing ovation by actually buying a scooter?
Well, to understand that journey, we can use a really classic, really useful framework. It's called the AIDA model. And what it does is it maps out the 4 mental stages a customer typically goes through on their way to making a purchase. So it all starts with A for attention. First things first, Drivo has to get you to notice them. This is the opening note of the symphony. Imagine, a potential customer is just chilling, watching TV, and boom, a really sleek, cool ad for the Drivo scooter pops up. Just like that, they've gone from not even knowing Drivo exists to being aware. But awareness isn't enough, right? Next, you need I for interest. So maybe later that day, that same person is scrolling through their social feed. And what do they see? A targeted ad for Drivo. They think, hey, I remember that from TV. Their curiosity is piqued, so they click. They head over to the website. Now they're leaning in. They actually want to hear more. Okay, so now we have to turn that interest into D for desire. This is where it gets emotional. On the website, they're seeing all the cool features, the great mileage, the slick design. Then, maybe the next day, they actually see a real-life Drivo scooter parked outside their office, part of some local PR event. And that's the moment it clicks. They don't just know about it anymore, they want one. And that leads us to the final A, action. A perfectly timed email lands in their inbox with a special offer for a test ride. That's it. That's the final push they needed. They go to a showroom, they take it for a spin, and they buy it. The symphony has reached its grand finale. But hold on. The sale, that's not the end of the performance. A truly great symphony, a masterpiece. It leaves an echo. It's that lasting impression that stays with you long after the music stops. And you know what? That is the ultimate goal here. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. By making sure every single touch point, from that very first TV ad, to the website, to the follow-up email, is perfectly consistent, Drivo doesn't just sell a scooter. It builds something much bigger. It builds a powerful, memorable, and trustworthy brand. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about it for a second. What's a brand that has created a perfect symphony for you? One where the message just feels perfectly in tune across everything they do. Their ads, their products, their customer service, the whole shebang. When you think of one, that's when you're seeing the true, incredible power of IMC in action.